Welcome to Destination Linux, the night city of open source cyberpunks, where every commit is a netrunner's hack against the megacorp grip of proprietary tech, straight out of Cyberpunk 2077. I'm your V this week, Ryan, jacking into the Linux mainframe with an Edge runner crew, ready to burn down the corporate firewall. Jill is our Judy Alvarez, punk rock animation professor techie with a vintage PC stash, crafting UX designs faster than she can brain dance a new interface into existence. Her creed, if it's not open source, it's just a raw sucker, a soul killer in disguise.
Nice.
Wendy is a Panam Palmer fierce tech enthusiast photographer scouting Linux solutions with a nomad sharp instinct and snapping shots that cut through the digital haze. Her mantra, code free or you're stuck in Night City's gridlock. And we have a special guest. Nate is our Johnny Silverhand, retro tech rebel with a knack for gonzo homebrew projects, rigging Raspberry Pi gadgets faster than he can nuke a corpse servers with a single riff. His motto, burn the system, code the revolution. I've heard him say that multiple times on Linux Out Loud.
The funny thing is, I did actually take down an entire executive wing today of network.
There you go.
There you
That's
go.
what you do.
Nice.
So,
You took down
Was
the
it on
proprietary
purpose or
code.
accident?
yeah. The first time was an accident.
He said, yeah. Just, yeah. Oh,
He said,
that's
awesome.
fantastic.
This is going to be a great
So
show.
if you haven't noticed, the Linux Out Loud crew, which is a
Yeah.
fantastic podcast out there. We got Nate and Wendy from Linux Out Loud here. They're taking over. They're trying to take over Destination Linux. It's unbelievable.
And it takes two of them to replace Michael.
There you go.
This is true.
Oh, so I was only like half doing it last week.
Yeah.
Then. Shots fired.
Dang, Bill.
Shots fired.
I'm teasing you, Wendy.
So this week's gig, we're diving into Jill's treasure hunt. That's right.
Woo-hoo!
One of your favorite segments out there. Everybody asks for it constantly. It is coming back today, a fan favorite where she's going to unveil a gem from her tech museum. We're going to fight Google's threat to F-Droid's open source turf, expose Samsung's ad-riddled refrigerators, and tackle listener feedback on the UK's privacy laws, plus more chrome-plated surprises from the darknet. So slot your cyber deck, sync your repos, and remember, in open source, we don't just hack the system, we rewrite the source. Let's jack in. This is Destination Linux. So if you missed last week, you may have missed the news that Michael, why are you not seeing Michael? Well, Michael got in an accident. He's going to be fine. He's making a recovery, but it may take several weeks. So that's why we have so many awesome guests here, which appreciate so much. Wendy coming on twice now and Nate joining us this week. But just so you know, Michael will be back in the future here.
He did drop a video on his channel where he talks about it a little bit. So I will leave that somewhere here, or Michael can add it to the show notes himself, however that goes. But he did make a little video on that too that he's dropped. So check that
There
out.
you go.
It's a great thumbnail.
Yeah, it was.
Yes.
It's his head wrapped up and seeing his shoulder surgery. And Poor
Fantastic.
guy.
I love it. I love it.
It happens.
It happens indeed. All right. So also next week, because Jill and I both have things going on and Michael, of course, being out, there will be no show. So the good news is you're getting an amazing show this week. The bad news is you're just going to have to keep listening to this one at least till the next week, because that's when we'll be back. Someone will be back. We don't know if everyone will be back. But we'll see who's will be back.
You could
Should
squeeze
be
in a
an
Linux
LOL
Out Loud.
next week.
Yeah.
Hey, don't be plugging other podcasts on this podcast just because you got two LOL people here. What do you think this is? Man, these LOL
Aw.
people, I swear. There's something else.
Seize the opportunities.
yeah.
That's it. Linux Out Loud's fantastic podcast. Add it to
Yes.
your list right now. Give it 5 stars, thumbs up, whatever you got to do. But you can have more Wendy and Nate. I mean, what else do you want out of life?
Yes, there's some Matt on there as well. Every once in a while, we have Bill, who's also on Sudo Show on the network. So all kinds of fun stuff going on there. We are a little more like chasing an ADHD rabbit than this show, but it's still fun.
I love that description. I hope that is what the show's described as, chasing the ADHD rabbit. All right. In our community feedback this week, we have feedback from C. They wanted to remain anonymous, so I just went with C. There is a C in their name. That's all you get. That's all you know. That's how anonymous, how much we respect anonymity here on this show. I said it right, Jill. I did it.
You sure did.
Look at me. I can learn. So C writes us to talk about UK privacy laws. This was on a show. We discussed this about the UK privacy laws. We were, of course, anti the laws that are being pushed out there. These UK privacy laws, of course, have also spiked VPN usage all across the country, which is, putting a lot of money into VPN sand. So they're not probably that mad about this. But it's just a shame that this even has to happen. But C goes on to say every content provider has to mark, this is their suggestion for solving this, that every content provider should have to mark with a minimum age requirement in the country the requirement originates from. Unmarked content is automatically assumed to be for adults only. So that's an interesting suggestion for the fix there, because they're saying it's for the children, to protect children on the internet, which, of course, every time we give up our privacy, it's always in the name of protecting the children, which who doesn't want to protect children?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where people who don't understand technology, they're not thinking long-term about the implications of what this, are like, well, of course I want to protect children. Who doesn't? What a monster. So that's kind of how they usually get these laws out there. They say every router should come with a pre-configured VLAN Wi-Fi that allows only web and email access through a built-in proxy, which filters any content for minimum ages above 12. Every OS has to allow to add user accounts for children with their birth date attached to it. Every software that accesses information on the internet has to ask the OS for the user's age and filter content accordingly. So if I could sum up, I think C's suggestions in a nutshell, it's more of like, give the users more control over that, from the router to their computer, over setting age limits and restrictions and things, but also make a lot of this default. Because Wendy and I were talking before the show, and we had a little bit of a back and forth on, can people actually today, because a lot of routers already come with this, child protection and things like that, but people barely, we look at our community and we're like, of course, everyone can get into the router and program it. But outside of our community, there are a lot of people who are just not tech savvy. They don't really, them pushing the power button on the computer is as technical as they get.
There are some routers out there, and I can't remember what they're called. I might have to do looking at it. I know there's some routers that have been specifically sold for the fact of privacy and being able to lock things down. I have a Synology router, and inside of my Synology router, that's I don't know how many years old, I can do it multiple ways. And the way I prefer to do it is set up profiles. And then inside of those profiles, and it's all GUI based. Like it's very straightforward, very easy to use. Attach what kind of it's easy for anybody to do this. I promise. It's really not that hard. And then attach their devices to their profile, and then their profile and all of their devices get a specific set of rules. And there are some, like I said, some other routers that are sold for the specific purpose of being able to make this even easier than the Synology makes it. So I'm not saying you have to set up a Raspberry Pi, but that technology to do that is already out there. Because for one, there's a lot of stuff that I don't want my 4 children to see that's out there, easy to access on the internet. And social media is an absolute dumpster fire. Like one night we had an officer show up at our door at 3 a.m. because they were looking for a girl over some drama issues in relation to social media that was going on, and worried about this individual. So social media was one of those things that I was like, my kids don't have access to. Like, talk to real people in the world, And all of that is very easy to do on a lot of these routers. And I think, for me, I would be more than willing to help people who say, hey, I would like this done, but I'm not exactly sure how to do it, to walk them through that kind of stuff. Heck, I'd be more than willing to produce content on how to do that for people if somebody was interested. But those options are out there now.
I think the problem is there's a lot of people out there who they, because and not all of it's just bad parenting. Some of it is just a bad hand's been dealt to them. They work constantly. Yeah. They have kids. They don't have time to sit there and learn a router or watch content. They don't probably not even thinking about it, frankly, as an issue. And so I think C's recommendation is, hey, why don't you have this stuff when you buy a router? It's configured there by default. And if you want to work around it, which that's when the parents will spend the time to actually learn the configuration.
Because they can't access their stuff.
They can't access what they want. Then you have to go in and change some settings and things like that.
Either that or you have devices just returned because somebody's like, this doesn't work and it's a garbage piece of hardware because I can't get to the blah, 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 blah.
Right. Oh. So I think there's some interesting value there. And again, I wish these conversations were actually happening in the UK government and they were thinking about ways that they could do things outside of, forcing everybody to give up their IDs and driver's license and everything else in order to view content. Here in Texas, they've done similar things with the whole ID stuff, which is just ridiculously stupid. So this problem is growing. It's not just a UK issue. It's like every country's trying to get more control over the internet. And truthfully, I believe this has nothing to do with protecting the children. I honestly would say the amount of percent that I believe, I think there's probably some senators and things out there that don't know better. And so they're like, yeah, they're kind of going along with it because of that. But I think if you were to find the people really pushing it, it's big companies wanting more control over the internet. They want to be able to control what you see, who's seeing it, and be able to monitor who, what, when, where, and why of everything that gets done. The interesting thing is this pushes people to VPNs, and a lot of people don't know anything about VPNs either. So what they do is they get the free ones, which are sometimes worse than the ISPs, or probably worse than uploading your driver's license to the government in some cases, because there's a lot of shady VPNs out there as well.
Yeah,
for sure.
And I'm just thinking because a lot of people who have fiber, we can't use separate routers. We have to use the router / modem that they give you, especially if you have business accounts and whatnot. So there just needs to be a universal kind of mandate for all hardware that ISPs use. So those that are like me who can't use another router have options. Now
you can't even set yours to be like a bridge. So usually, like I have fiber coming to my house, and I bridge their router to my router, but still,
you can set that up. But by default, most people who are
aren't
using fiber aren't going to know how to do that. But I do. I've used switches and all kinds of things.
Right.
But that is a problem when a lot of the U.S. now is on a fiber network that where the modem and router is controlled. Yeah. So that's definitely an issue. So because that's what's always been the beauty of being able to have a router, and you can make one yourself with an old computer or whatever you want. But we need, if you want to truly control that and make it easy for everyone's kind of have to be on the same router and the same hardware.
And I understand where you're coming through with that. So I've got two internets right here behind me. I've got Starlink and T-Mobile Business both coming in, and I don't use they're just access points, and then they both go into the Synology router there because the Synology can handle 2 WANs, which is awesome. Yeah. So I actually have load balancing or failover set up with those 2 connections coming in. But you're right, a lot of people would just, there's my whatever router, and then everything else gets Wi-Fi'd in, and that's definitely not what I do either.
Yeah. And I'm fortunate because I have a microchip, the business modem router combo, and it is amazing, and you can set VPNs on it and everything, but most people don't have that. So it's
I like the idea of defaults being set, and I like the idea of parents having to go purposely into configurations to change those. I think C is onto something here. I'm not saying this is the
definitely
absolute solution, but I like this better than what the UK has now, and I like this better than what Texas is doing now. And they go on to say, I recommend starting with the second solution there. Both are designed to give parents control without expecting a complicated technical understanding or hard work. Both are designed to reduce especially accidental exposure of children to inappropriate content. None of them requires to create new risks like data collections, which would be abused for children and adults alike. I agree. I think that I'm not saying this is the perfect solution. I don't know. We'd have to probably spend a lot more time on the topic, but it's certainly a step above what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And I think kids are so good now. There are third graders that are, hacking into their school systems and changing their grades and things. Kids these days, we think we were good at computers. I mean, the kids these days, this is their life. I mean, a lot of them don't go outside and ride ATVs and do all the stuff we did. They play on their computers and they know how to utilize them. So if you think that kid is not going to be able to get on a VPN or download a free VPN extension to their browser and get to the content anyways, you're just being foolish. You're not.
I can only imagine the market of fake digital IDs that would go around is like, okay, I've got my not my fake ID to buy alcohol. I've now got my fake ID to access content.
Yeah, exactly. And then this stuff will be used. The government's going to collect this data, and it could be used against you at a later date. Anything that was searched on in your home could be used against you at a later date, and that's why I think it's just so dangerous.
I think the problem with a lot of people who are not as technically competent,
there you go,
is they say, well, if we make these laws, this will solve that problem. It's like, well, yes, but you create a new problem by creating a kind of honeypot of information, a new vulnerability that can actually harm everybody when you're trying to protect, a certain number of people. I think a lot of problem, with big business and government, especially, is they never like to let a good crisis go to waste. So they like to take advantage of everything to put the screws down on people. And I think it's a constant thing. It's always been this way. It's not. This is nothing new. This is like just the way it works. So, we have to be very cognizant of the importance of having our digital freedoms. And I don't mean to do naughty things, but I mean like not having somebody peering through your windows and monitoring you all the time. See, to me, there's the whole privacy thing is like this. When I'm in my house, I don't expect to be watched. If I go out and I walk the sidewalk in town, I'm going to be watched. That's like going out on the internet to whatever. So that I kind of expect. But being watched within my own network, house, walls, whatever, that's kind of where I draw the line. And so I think it's almost like a stalking. It's like you're being stalked by advertisers and so forth. It's like imagine like like in town, you go into one store and then the shopkeeper there follows you into the next. That shopkeeper's name is Amazon, by the way, follows you into the next store and sees what you're interested in over there. So that to me is kind of like what I feel like a lot of these trackers and privacy things are. And I know that's not where this is specifically, but I like the idea of more of a grassroots. Hey, let's set some standards here, some ground rules. If you mark your content, based on what it is. And I think it's gonna be really hard, like with like small websites, probably. Well, I guess if it's just marked as 18 plus, whatever, that solves it if it's unmarked. But I think that would be a much better approach, because then it's not really. But
then who's checking those ratings, right? Because then you still have to have someone to check those ratings, because you have sites that would mark themselves as child friendly who aren't. And then do we trust those who are doing the checking? Because what if they don't want something else accessed, and even though it's good information, it gets marked as 18 plus? Like it feels like a slippery slope to me once we go down this road, period.
It does, but I think, once, if let's say somebody is marking their content for kids and it's not, then if it's caught, you report it. And I'm not sure exactly how. At that point, I'm not really sure what you would do. Maybe it would be flagged as such. Maybe there's some sort of a DNS record thing. I don't know. Any system can be broken. One paperclip in there and break something. But I think
okay, MacGyver.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I would say even an 80% solution is probably better than a 0%. But I don't know.
Or a 250%. Yeah.
Right. The screws of government would be the not ideal solution. So how to do that exactly? I'm not sure.
Here's what I do know, that in 1948, that generation was smart enough to say, hey, the government and anybody else should not be allowed to just go through your mail in your mailbox.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to make it a federal crime for people to go in there and see what you have coming to you, which is where all of your messages, deliveries, subscriptions, back in the day, that's where it all came. It didn't come into a Gmail inbox. And so they understood the importance of privacy in 1948 when we had no idea where we'd be today dealing with mail. And I think the same thing applies here. You have the right to privacy. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. I also agree the internet's become a very, it's always been the wild, wild west, but there's a lot of bad stuff out there. And social media, Wendy, to your point, is probably the worst of it. If I want to think about something I absolutely do not want my kids to be able to access, social media is literally number one. Mm-hmm. It's at the top of the list because it sets unrealistic expectations. It makes everything just fake, and it sets ideas and thoughts that kids should not be having to deal with. And it does it
melts their brains.
The most exciting and obsessive way possible. Meaning they just sit there. I see people at the gym all the time. Nate, if you've gone to the gym recently, you've seen this too, where they're sitting on the gym equipment. They ain't actually used the equipment.
They're
I'm waiting for the dang thing, and they're just scrolling on Instagram or whatever, video to video. Then they'll do a set, and it's like 25 minutes later. They don't realize how much time has passed because their minds are just stuck in this loop.
And then they're using up a piece of equipment that somebody else can't get to. See, this is why I have a home gym.
Exactly.
Yeah, same here.
Well, I just walk up to them and say, how many text messages do you have left? Which, even if they're not on text messages, they get uncomfortable and walk away. So that's what I do. So
with your noodle arms.
But the point, exactly. The point is that we really need to have privacy protection. And I want kids to have protection of what they see. I think a lot of that falls onto the parents. Parents own that. If you want to try to do something to help those parents out, I like C's idea. Put some good defaults in and let people mess with that. But I want to hear y'all's thoughts in the community. Maybe you've put a lot of thought to this. Maybe you've even worked on regulations and laws related to it in the past. Let us know if so. Go to destinationlinux.net/comments or destinationlinux.net/forum. Let us know what you think of this topic. So as Linux users, we know what's up. Security is non-negotiable, but with threats getting smarter, your security tools need to keep pace without dragging your system down. Traditional agents can slow your system down, and they can leave blind spots, and it's time for a smarter approach. That's why Destination Linux is proud to be sponsored by Sandfly Security, revolutionary agentless platform designed for Linux. Go to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and see how Sandfly can transform your security strategy. Timothy Lisko of DigitalOcean says, Sandfly is one of the most exciting pieces of security tech I've seen recently. We're excited to not only be a customer, but also offer an integrated solution to our customers through the DigitalOcean marketplace. This technology addresses Linux security in a really novel and compelling way. Sandfly just doesn't detect and respond. It revolutionizes security with SSH key tracking, password auditing, drift detection, and it covers threats from every angle, whether your systems are in the cloud, on-premise, or in embedded devices. It doesn't matter. Sandfly ensures all of them are secure without the headaches of agent-based solutions. Experience security that's not just effective, but gives you peace of mind. No agents, no downtime, just cutting-edge protection.
And to all our viewers, the Sandfly Security Home Edition is now available. And you get 50% off using the code Destination 50. That's DESTINATION 50. Dive into the future of Linux security at destinationlinux.net/Sandfly. destinationlinux.net/SANDFLY and see how Sandfly security can transform your security strategy.
They're also doing a free business trial right now. So if you're a business, you got to check this out. Sandfly is it. The CEO is out there tweeting today, showing some new kind of interesting hacks going on in the Linux world, and Sandfly picking them up immediately, like because of that deviation detection. It's going to find that stuff. It can find the slowness that causes your system to slow down because of the malware, other things. It's just awesome. Check out Sandfly, everyone. So for the past 15 years, F-Droid has provided this alternative to the Google Play Store. If a lot of people in the Linux community prefer to utilize an Android device over an Apple device, and they like to utilize F-Droid because you have access to all of these open source apps out there instead of utilizing something like Google Play, which Google Play has, I would say it's gotten better, but it was kind of known in the past as being a hotbed for spyware and scams. Like its control over its software, because it was more open than Apple's closed ecosystem, was a little more like the Wild Wild West. You never knew what you were going to get when you're downloading. But F-Droid, not without its issues, but has been really fantastic place for you to get free and open source alternatives and kind of stay out of the Google ecosystem, even when you're on your Android device. It's just been a very important tool out there. And F-Droid distributes apps validated to work for the user's interest, not the distributors. That's one of their big thing. And they go through an approval process in the F-Droid app. So there's, they try to do everything they can to keep the bad actors out and to keep the place safe. And again, F-Droid's not perfect, but I would trust F-Droid, frankly, over the Google Play Store probably any day of the week, personally. So why I'm bringing this up is last month, Google decided that Android developers worldwide must register. Does this sound familiar? UK laws, we need your license, we need you to upload stuff for your identity. Now we've got Google coming in their Play Store saying, hey, you have to register with us. Of course, you got to pay a registration fee now, and the agreement to a non-negotiable and ever-changing terms and conditions, of course, upload personal identifying documents like your government ID, and enumerating all unique application identifiers for apps to be distributed. So this is a problem because F-Droid cannot require developers to register through Google, nor can it take over application identifiers, as that would be a exclusive distribution rights violation. If implemented, people that work with F-Droid said this will end the F-Droid project and free and open source app distribution sources as we know them today. That's a quote. We don't know the exact amount of users of F-Droid because it's an open source project. And get this, they don't track you. Nor do they require you to register accounts or anything else. But we know there's a lot of people who utilize F-Droid. So sideloading, this is Google's point. It can create risk. There are certainly situations where side-loaded apps, especially ones sent through links and stuff, not necessarily through F-Droid like a distributed center, have been malicious. It's one way that you can get users to, download or install something like the games we were talking about last week, kind of a similar situation. But this is kind of like if Windows all of a sudden said, you're not allowed to install anything on your Windows machine, which, by the way, this is probably coming. If it's not through the Windows Store, and of course, how is it going to be positioned? As a protection for you. We got to keep you safe from the malware. We got to keep the children safe.
Didn't they try that once before? And that's why Windows Microsoft
was definitely pushing their store more. I think starting in Windows 8 is when they really started pushing the Windows Store. But there were so many things that weren't available when it came to like drivers and all of that stuff. So they kind of had to back off some of those requirements. I think a lot of stuff, if you're on Mac, still has to go through the Mac Store. in that way. I don't know. I haven't used Mac.
You can still on a Mac download things that are not through the Mac store. It will tell you this is not a verified app, and you do have to take a step to say, I want to go ahead and install this unverified app. So it's an additional step, but they allow you to do it. You can install stuff outside of the Mac store. Android, though, Google's kind of like, you're not going to be able to unless, of course, you register and use our Google Play services and all this. Now, this doesn't affect Graphene OS. The Graphene OS team has confirmed that this specific stuff won't impact Graphene OS at all. It doesn't impact Graphene OS since it doesn't have Google mobile services. Nothing for us to do about this. It's a non-issue. One of the community members said, and they also said, we're not a Google certified device OS, so none of the enforcement depends on privilege, and the enforcement depends on privileged Play services, and they don't utilize that stuff. Therefore, if you use Graphene OS, which not everyone can do, it's easy to go out there and say you recommend it, but technically it's not easy, but you can buy a phone with it already installed, potentially. But then there's the issue of certain work systems, depending on where you work, have VPNs that have to be through an official store to utilize. And there's a lot of banking apps and things that don't work with Graphene OS. So depending on your needs, Graphene OS may not fill them. If it does, great, perfect solution. And maybe Graphene OS itself can keep F-Droid kind of going. But this looks like it's a big deal for F-Droid. Like, we may lose a lot of F-Droid because of this move Google made.
I'm so saddened by this, but I saw it coming because Google has been trying to get rid of anything that's side-loaded, for security, which we understand the security part. This is just the wrong way to do it.
Yeah.
The thing is you have this battle of, okay, we've had these bad actors that are causing all of these issues inside of the Google Play Store. Something has to be done, right? And so it's this give and take with our earlier topic of, okay, something has to be done. So this is the extreme that they're going to, is now no more side loading. Is this the end of third-party ROMs? I don't know, because Graphene isn't the only one out there. Lineage has been around for a long time. It's one that I've run personally, and there's a few others. What does this mean for the development of things like Ubuntu Touch? Is this one of those things that helps progresses those further? Not to bring up Linux Out Loud again, but if you've watched that show, Matt on there has been using Ubuntu Touch on one of his devices and was trying to run it as a daily driver. And he goes, just about everything worked amazingly well except for GPS. And it was taking like 15 and 20 minutes for GPS stuff to work. And he's like, that's where it broke me as being able to use this as a daily driver, because it's something I have to use on a daily basis. And so that was a problem. But is this enough to maybe help? Yeah. Is this enough to help bump that up just a little bit, or ways that we can help make these open source ROMs better for these devices so that you can use these banking apps, right? Because there's a lot of banking apps that it's not even the underlying OS or Google Play. Like, they send your bootloaders unlocked and they're like, nope, security risk. You can't install this on here.
Yeah. I think that, go ahead, Nate.
So I was thinking about this, and I kind of actually am leaning more toward the Wendy, and maybe I'm just an optimist,
or maybe you're just scared of Wendy.
Yeah, it could be.
No,
she haunts me in my robotic dreams.
The way she said no even scared me. That's crazy.
FTC. So what I was thinking is, I know that. We were talking earlier that the Google Play Store was kind of a hive of scum and villainy for quite some time, and now they're trying to clean it up. And by doing so, it's probably an overreach, I would say. And so when the Empire squeezed, more systems would slip through its fingers, as Princess Leia would say. And so I kind of wonder if by squeezing, it's going to maybe cause some splintering, as we've seen a lot of evidence of that between social media sites and the different YouTube competitors that exist now. They're because of different policies that Google has done or other companies have done, has caused people to splinter and it's kind of broken things up a little bit. So ultimately now Google with Android is not going to be necessarily the only, like people are going to find other alternatives because they just don't want to mess with that. So that could happen. The other thing too is I think Google has a really fantastic track record of backpedaling. Like I don't know there's a company that's backpedaled or changed positions more than Google. I mean, even when they went away from their slogan, do no evil. So they backpedaled from that. Anyway, so I guess I don't view it as doom and gloom because I think that somehow what is good will find a way ultimately. And I think open source is good. And I think that there's a lot of really good people out there that care about technology, that care about having their freedoms, that I think ultimately good will itself out, because we've seen the other crushing things try and come down, and those have been,
I think that's a really good point. I mean, the reality is the biggest problem we face right now is there's a duopoly. You've got Google or you've got Apple. And they're really, for a lot of us privacy and security focused individuals, they're not really great choices on either side. So, we go for something a little more technical like Graphene, EOS, Lineage OS, those type of things. But for the rest of the people, they're kind of stuck. I think you make an interesting point. I've been talking about phones have been boring for a really long time. It used to be super exciting when a new phone came out.
The flip phones are cool.
The flip phones are cool, but this technology, when they come out, like if you look at in the US specifically, I mean, I think Apple owns 68% or something of the US market. What's interesting about that to me is it does kind of show that, like kind of what I talked about last week, given the option, if the device is convenient and private, people will choose that. And I think that's what Apple has done really well, is made themselves look like they are the most private option. And compared to Android, there's no doubt they are more private than an Android device. But I'm talking stock Android here, not compared to Graphene OS or something like that. But I think what has to happen is we really need a third, fourth, fifth player in here, but at least a third. And maybe Google continuing to do what they're doing, trying to become more like Apple and have this really closed ecosystem and control everything. Maybe that will open the doors for someone to take that plunge. Unfortunately, getting into the mobile market is a very, very rich person type ordeal. Getting the manufacturing, the devices that you need, the software, the app store, and getting a bunch of people to create apps for the app store. Frankly, your point, Nate, is very well made, that the only really solution out there that could do this is open source. Open source is the only thing that could create an app store and have as many apps and be able to deliver a third-party solution to compete here. Otherwise, the other third player would be somebody like a Microsoft.
Well, Microsoft already tried. They tried to enter the game,
and they'll try again.
They failed at it. We had BlackBerry for a while, and they went by the wayside too. And I think more of BlackBerry's issue wasn't that their hardware wasn't good, because they were producing really, really good hardware. And they started with the smart device thing. They just didn't keep innovating when it came to the software and having that store, that app availability that both Apple and Android kind of took them over. But I've seen Windows phones in the very distant past, and they were very limited in what you could do with them and what was on them and the power of those devices in general. So they did try to enter the market, and it didn't go well for them.
We need the Palm Pre back. WebOS,
yes. Of course, there's WebOS
was great, but the problem with WebOS was HP bought it and didn't know what to do with it.
Didn't know what to do with it. Yeah.
No, they totally messed that up. That could have been, had they just stayed the course with WebOS, I think would have been the third.
WebOS
was
amazing, so far ahead of its time. So fantastic. We've talked about it many times on this show.
Yeah.
All right. So I think, the risk out there, and what I want everyone to take from this is, Nate, very good point. Like, this isn't doom and gloom. This does create opportunity. I think the opportunities with open source, I think F-Droid will find some new homes, despite what Android's doing there. I think with Graphene OS, EOS, Lineage OS, all of these other alternatives, and maybe this is the thing that will push more people to look into those alternatives. And that's the good thing to come out of it. So maybe the best thing that can happen is Google just continues to be the annoying marketing company that just wants to suck up all of your data, and they keep losing more and more market share until they finally realize, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
There are examples of where the ship has righted itself. So think in the consumer electronics space. Laptops, and I'm going to say the worst laptops out there to buy, and I'm sorry if this offends somebody, actually I'm not sorry, are Apple. I think Apple makes the absolute bottom of the barrel worst machines out there, not because of their displays or the performance or the styling, but the repairability. And so because they are so bad at repairability, and so many consumer electronics are so bad at repairability, you have basically the laptop industry is a shrinking. It's not a growth business. But Framework, who came in with a very open repairability, are growing with the hockey stick curve, like extremely well because of their open approach to it. Also, Valve with the Steam Deck, they made it so you could work on the Steam Deck.
It's so easy too, yeah.
Right, and so they're changing the consumer electronics field, not through law, not through litigation, but through innovation and true openness. And I think the right group of people, or enough of us coming together in the open source world with phones. You've got Fairphone, who's making a good phone right now, and although we can't really get it in the US, unfortunately, I mean, you can, but I think that combined with some sort of a standard, or like the LS, like Linux standard base. Remember that, old timers. So something
Dang
like
it.
that.
No,
but
I don't
for the
know what
mobile
you're talking
space,
about.
Yeah,
yes.
Because it kind of went away. But something like that, but for an open mobile consortium of sorts, I think that is probably going to be the future. And that's I think ultimately that will defeat the ravages of the proprietary corporate overlords. I really
like
do.
your hope. I don't share it, but I like your hope. I wish that world does exist, and I'm on that train if it does. But I think more than likely, people will continue to accept their broken,
worse.
Unrepairable operating systems that just steal all your information, and they'll just keep dealing with it, and until something major happens. That people wake up and go, oh my God, I did not realize that sharing everything about me on Facebook would have this kind of consequence. Even though there's plenty of individual stories where that's taken place, it hasn't impacted a huge group of people yet. When it does, then maybe people will go, hey.
It is in like people's day-to-day lives. They're like, hey, why couldn't I get this job? Well, you posted some things on social media that maybe you shouldn't have. Hey, it's a good reason to keep kids off of it. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I was just thinking of an alternative for when Google has been implementing a native way to run Linux apps. And maybe that's F-Droid's way around.
Oh.
Yeah. I was just thinking about that. I was like,
yeah.
Look at Jill hacking it. Jill's already thinking of how to hack the system.
See, that's why we have her, that positive light on the show, is because she can be like, I found a positive, where the rest of us are all like little.
I just hacked Google, so now it's not a problem. All right, Jill, listen, on that, I don't think we can end that topic any better than that. And what people are really like is, come on, when is the treasure hunt going to happen?
Aww.
So let's make it happen right now, Jill. Let's get into the treasure hunt.
So I'm excited about this. This is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to hear from our viewers. So make sure in the comments, tell me your experience once I start getting into this.
W's in the chat. The chat. Right.
So once upon a time, in the mid to late 1990s and early 2000s, you could actually go to a retail store and buy Linux in a box. From old big box computer stores like CompUSA, Fry's Electronics and Software, etc., to Borders Bookstore, Crown Books, Best Buy. And Best Buy, fortunately, is still around, but sadly, most of these companies are not around anymore. And I'm going to show you just a few of my favorite Linux distros on CD-ROMs that you could buy at stores that came in a retail box that are in my Connect collection. And these are the original CD-ROMs that I used to install these Linux distributions on my computers way back in the day. And many of which are actually still running on these older installs of Linux, even today on my older computers.
So now, Jill, before we continue, what is a CD-ROM?
Okay.
I'm kidding.
It's like a Blu-ray.
Yeah, there you go. It's like a Blu-ray
okay.
Holding data. It's an optical disc. And a laser reads it on the bottom.
Oh, Jill's really gonna explain it. I love that. There's probably some kids that are like, "Wow, that's cool, a laser."
Yes. And you could even sometimes in the CD-ROM and DVD drives actually hear the laser working as the disc is moving. And
it sounds like Star Wars. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
No explosions, unless actually that's not true.
Sometimes.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah,
with enough effort,
you can.
Anything can happen.
I've had one shatter on me in the drive before.
All right, Jill.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I suppose the CD-ROM itself wasn't part of your museum. So what do you got to show us?
Okay. So here is the first box. It's actually Red Hat Linux, which was my third distribution and was introduced to the world in May of 1995. My oldest Linux distros I started with were originally downloaded from BBSs and imaged to floppy disks.
Nice.
So I had downloaded, installed an older version of Red Hat on one of my systems earlier, but this was the first official one I bought in the store and installed on one of my Pentium Pros and my Digital Equipment Corporation Alpha.
All right, here it is. You got to watch the video version of this. Wow, that's a big box. That's a beautiful box.
I remember those software boxes, those massive, chunky software boxes. Yeah.
With a bold Linux.
Makes me so happy.
This one's relatively small, as I'm going to show you two more in my collection that are even bigger than this.
Oh, how fun.
But it's still still pretty big.
Yeah.
So when you bought the boxed distros in the stores, you were not buying the Linux software, but the manuals, guides, and tutorials that came in the box. Of course, because Linux was open source and free. And you were, buying the tutorials. And boy, speaking of that, wouldn't that be kind of nice to do even today?
Oh, yeah. There's just something about this is something I hope comes back around too, Nate, as people start owning physical things again, vinyls come back in a big way, which is cool. With the younger generation, I admire that about them. They're bringing vinyl back. And I think, box software is so cool.
Yes. Definitely. And, not having to go through the web and troll for guides and installers and, instructions on how to install the OSs.
Right.
Would be really convenient. And the help guides and everything. No, they came with all that.
How much safer, too, from a hacking perspective? You don't have to worry that a hacker has gone in there and mass distributed a boxed software into the store. It's a safer bet when you go and get your software if it comes in a box.
Yeah.
Or when you have a problem and you're like, oh, here's a solution, but it's from 5 years ago and doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's for that specific distribution.
Yep.
Yes. So this is Red Hat Linux 5.0 Hurricane from 1997. And yes, these CD-ROMs came in the box. And they were...
Is that 2 in that box?
Yeah, actually, this one has 4. Let me see. So this is actually the utilities disk. Utilities disks, and there's 2 of those disks, and then there's 2 install disks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's like a fancy jewel case there.
Disk 2.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And the pop-up that says now insert disk 2.
Yes. And as I was saying earlier, you got handy guides on, how to install the operating system and all the information. It's just
nice,
wonderful. And as you see, when I go through my 2 other boxes that are a little newer, the guides turn into books, like big, thick books.
Imagine all the work it took back then to not only develop software, but then have all of these individuals writing these manuals, and they had to be perfect. You weren't going to rewrite these. You couldn't just fix it in the HTML code. They had to be perfect.
Yes.
And so everything had to be tested over and over and over again to make sure that the stuff inside of that manual was right. It's just,
the opposite of most modern game releases where they leave releases buggy mess and they're like, you'll get an update.
Yeah, we'll fix it down the road. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So true, Wendy. So this is Red Hat Linux 5.0 Hurricane from 1997. And this actually predates Red Hat Enterprise Linux, RHEL, which most of our Linux users are familiar with. This is before that, which came out, RHEL came out when Fedora hit the scene. But Red Hat Linux 5.0 contains really the best that 1997 had to offer, including Linux 2.0.32, Bash 1.14, X-Free86, woohoo, and the FVWM 95 Window Manager, or the F Virtual Window Manager 95. and it looks similar to Windows 95, thus the name. And it also contains many proprietary applications, including the classic Netscape Communicator 4 web browser and internet suite, Real Player cross-platform media player app, as well as Metrox, a commercial binary blob X server. And this era marked the shift from commercial UNIX operating systems to Linux and free and open source software. So this was a very important release because it was a transition. And I originally,
that's such a good shape.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, they look like brand new.
Yeah.
They do.
And actually, I have over 30 distros in a box. So it was hard to choose which ones, but I had to choose my first Red Hat.
Yes.
That's a good choice.
And I originally picked up this box of Red Hat Linux 5 at CompUSA, a place I visited frequently, of course, and was only a block from my house. In fact, one of my 3D animation students was the manager at this CompUSA, and he would frequently give me discounts.
So you were a hacker then too.
Yeah.
You're like, if you want an A, you've got to give me a discount on my software at CompUSA.
Yes.
Hey, Jill, I don't want to throw this in your face, but I also have boxed Red Hat right here.
Nice. Which version is that, Ryan? I can't quite see it.
It's version 3. It says.
Nice.
RHEL.
This is Enterprise Linux.
Okay.
Yeah, of RHEL. So there you go.
Sweet.
Yeah, I didn't want to have to interrupt your Jill's treasure hunt for Ryan's treasure hunt, but there you go. Can I ask what you paid for that at CompUSA? Do you remember the price?
I think they were around $20. So I remember like $20, $30-ish dollars.
You can't even get a McDonald's hamburger for that.
I know. Yeah.
The 90s, we had hope. For the kids listening, back in the 90s, mankind looked like the future was going to be bright. And then whatever this is not what we were planning for the world to look like. So sorry, this was not according to plan.
Yes.
But just know back in the 90s, there was hope for mankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then this next distro I'm going to show you, I specifically remember the price, and I will tell you where I purchased it after I get done talking about it. It was $29.99.
All right.
Because I still have the original receipt for this one.
Oh, wow.
But $29.99 a month?
Nope.
Weird.
Just once. You pay at the cashier.
No subscription?
When you leave the store.
That makes no sense, Jill. How do we rip people off for the rest of their life if we don't charge a subscription?
And free updates.
Free updates? What is this communism you're talking about?
I know. So this is Corel Linux, the OS Standard Edition box. And when Corel Linux OS was released in 1999, I was teaching Corel Draw at the time, along with Autodesk 3D Studio Max on Windows and Maya 3D Animation on Linux. Corel Draw was the industry standard for desktop publishing before Adobe became popular. So how exciting it was having an industry standard graphics program, not only working on Linux, but having a Linux distro that was enhanced just for it. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Which is too bad they don't still do that, because Paint Shop Pro was my very first photo editing software.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's that was one of the best. That was actually one of the best.
They still make it. I haven't played with it in years. It still could be fantastic, but that was my first photo editing software.
Oh, cool. Good to hear.
Jill, there was a lot of battles back in the day when I was younger. My dad was, he was pure IBM. He wanted IBM processors, IBM everything, and owned a shop. And even when Pentium was coming out, I had to beg him, like, we got to get Pentiums if you want to sell computers. Nobody wants IBM anymore. But back in the day, they were great. But he was a Corel Draw fanatic. Like, there was all these other alternatives.
Awesome.
But to him, Corel Draw was it. And that's the first one I learned. And it was just so intuitive. It really was intuitive compared to a lot of the stuff today.
Yeah. When Adobe Illustrator came out, one of the reasons our school, we transitioned to that a lot later, is because there were a lot of features that Corel Draw could do, like transparency. Excuse me, Adobe, you didn't have transparency.
Jill throwing some shade. I love it.
How do you not have transparency? Like that blows my mind. It is such a fundamental thing for graphic design, period.
Right.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so the other cool thing is that the Corel Linux installer was one of the easiest and most user-friendly at the time. And I actually had several of my students install it at home as well as during class. And they were my best students and were tech savvy. So they did it pretty well and they were proud. In fact, they'd even bring their computers in to show me.
Oh.
Wow. I was so happy.
And back then, the computers weighed 300 pounds. So
exactly.
That was hard.
People were rolling. Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem, Ryan.
Oh, yeah?
The computers got light. And the geeks got weak. That's really what happened.
Oh, man.
Or they have weak thumbs like Michael.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Or spaghetti arms like Ryan. Yeah.
Yes,
hey.
Exactly.
That's not my fault. The computers weighed nothing now.
So the other cool thing is that Corel Linux proved that Wine could be used to run industry software, including Corel Draw and Corel WordPerfect Office, and network easily with Windows. In fact, Corel Linux featured a file manager that was very close in look and feel to Windows Explorer and provided an integrated Windows SMB network browser. And it was Debian-based, which I was excited about because Debian was my favorite Linux distro at the time and still is.
Oh!
Because it works on all my machines.
Just dropped that bomb there. Jill's favorite distro, everyone, is Debian. There you go.
So this CD-ROM was actually the second edition released in the year 2000 and comes with Corel WordPerfect 8 and a modified KDE desktop environment, which was specifically designed to be similar to Windows to provide an easy transition for new users. And I wanted this update to test out the latest features and to test out installing Corel Draw separately with it. And so that I could also, I wanted to play around with it and make sure that the installer on this one worked just as well as the previous one, so we could update our computers in my animation lab.
You know what's amazing too, Jill, is like just looking at you holding that box. First of all, that box is dope. Like the chrome lettering, all the colors on it, everything makes you just want to pick that thing up and explore what's inside it, which is just, it's a feeling that instantly comes back to me walking through the store, looking at various software. A lot of it, there was no influencers out there telling us what to buy. There were no YouTubers. There was nothing. So you would go into a store, you would look at the software, you would turn it over, you would look at the box to draw your attention. You would read it. You would take a risk. You would go home, install it, and you either told your friends about it or you didn't. But there was a whole process to this. It was It was an exploration. It was Star Trek, being out in the galaxy with your ship, trying to find the next planet. It wasn't all just done for you. We got to go back to the 90s. Anybody got a time machine?
Linux format,
I know. Exactly.
Linux journal.
Yeah.
So I actually in my computer animation labs at school for my students, I installed the Corel Linux OS Deluxe Edition, which actually came with Corel Draw in the box. And it also came with this cute 3.5-inch official Corel Linux Tux Penguin.
Oh my gosh,
nice.
Look at that.
I still have it in the bag.
Thank you so much for spending $20. Here's a box.
So
here's all of our software. Here's a manual. Here's a penguin.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the manuals are awesome. Oh, and a floppy disk to boot it up and install it from CD-ROM, just in case your CD-ROM didn't boot from the BIOS or,
Wow. They cared about their users.
Yes. And here are the discs. Corel always used the envelopes for their discs.
Very nice. Now, Nate, Wendy, or Jill, do you remember Wing Commander, the game, and how many floppy disks it took to install Wing Commander?
Never played that one.
It was 30? Wasn't it that?
I never played that one either, but
right?
I did install Windows 95 on floppy once.
Yeah. It was 11 disks to install one game.
Wow.
Okay.
And 11 floppy disks. So Wendy, when you were saying insert next disk,
right. Yep.
I remember when you wanted to play Wing Commander, you were sitting there for a good amount of time. You had to work to play your game, And so when you got it installed, you were playing that dang thing, whether you liked it or not. It took so long to install it.
Yeah.
Kids these days are so spoiled. Get off my lawn.
Look what it came with. This is a nice, really thick manual.
Really nice book.
Yes.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Well, Corel was like the good word processor before
Absolutely.
you had the Microsoft one. So that was my very first word processor too. I am like super bummed that they don't have Linux versions anymore.
I know. Yeah. I know. It does still work really, really well under Wine.
Okay.
At least we have LibreOffice.
Yeah. But yeah, WordPerfect is one of my favorites too. I actually started with WordStar back in the 70s, early 80s.
Was that with like punch cards or what, Jill? I never heard of that.
Actually, this was after punch cards, but it was like Apple II era.
Oh, okay. Very cool. WordStar, huh? Interesting.
So the sad thing is that Corel scrapped its Linux business in August of 2001. And Xandros purchased the Corel Linux source code and development team. So we only had a few years of Corel Linux, but it was the hotness. I mean, it was the arch of today.
That means Corel, what you're saying specifically is Corel had its own distro, so people understand.
Yes.
This was their own distribution, their own operating system.
Yeah. So, because they wanted to get, and thank you for mentioning that, Ryan, because that was why Corel wanted to get into the Linux market, to get Corel WordPerfect and Corel Draw, the Linux versions, working for those transitioning from Unix to Linux.
Very nice. That's a big deal.
Yeah. So, but I do want to do a quick mention. This box of Corel Linux OS I bought from my local Fry's Electronics for $29.99.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And each Fry's Electronics, had a unique theme and cool sets and decorations. And actually the Fry's in my neighborhood had a tiki Polynesian theme, complete with a koi pond, bamboo, tiki decor, a waterfall, and huge Easter Island heads. Wow. And what was awesome is the boxes were displayed by the pond. And it made sense because the penguins.
Oh, wow. That's kind of cool.
For sure, yeah.
Cute.
Yeah. And another Fry's that was not far from me in Burbank was themed to 1950s sci-fi B movies and alien invasion. And
that's
that was
my
one
kind
of
of
the
Fry's.
Yeah, you would have loved it, Ryan. The exterior
Love
featured
it.
a flying saucer, and the cafe was a 1950s style drive-in diner. There were aliens, robots, and monsters throughout the store, like the giant ants from the 1954 film Them, the colossal octopus from the 1955 film It Came From Beneath the Sea, Gort the robot from The Day the Earth Stood Still, Klaatu Barada Nikto, and the aliens from the movie Mars Attacks was positioned above the 1950s diner. So, for us geeks, that was the coolest fries ever. That was awesome.
Yes.
And that was one of the reasons that was my favorite theme of all the Fry's electronics is I actually have been to all the Fry's here in California where the company started. And we had a lot of them here. And we would travel to San Francisco. I even traveled to Las Vegas just to go to Fry's and see the theming. So that was, important part of history and Linux being sold at Fry's. Specifically Corel Linux OS.
That is very cool. I remember the first time, and it wasn't that long ago, that I discovered Fry's even existed. They weren't a thing, where I grew up, and later there was some opened in Georgia. And so I went to my first Fry's, and my wife was like, didn't know what to do because she had never seen me turn into like a 6-year-old again. Like I was everywhere. She couldn't keep me. She's like, where did he go? Where'd he go this time? I was just running in and out of aisles. I couldn't believe there was so much geekery in one place. Like it was 3D printers and computers and laptops and every accessory and part and monitor, and you could play with it and touch it. And isn't Fry's over? Did they go under?
It's over officially.
2021.
2021.
That's what I'm saying, kids.
Oh, so they just went under not too long ago.
Well, most of the stores had already closed. There was like 1 or 2 left for the last 10 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember going into it one time, and this was, maybe 5 years ago or so. I don't remember. Time just escaping me, but basically everything was taken off the shelves. They were still open technically, but all they had was like these stickers all over the shelves. And I was asking them what's going on, and they're like, "Oh, we're just getting ready to. We have a new distributor we're going to restock with and stuff." And the news was talking about them going bankrupt. And I thought, "Oh no, this is not going to exist. It's going to go the way of Toys R Us." Which, by the way, speak of another fascinating, amazing place that was all my childhood was Toys R Us, and that being gone. All these people running these great businesses into the ground. It's just sad.
Yeah,
but anyways,
it's really sad.
I love the box software and I love the throwback, Jill. That's amazing.
So Fry's actually the manager there. He kept asking. He wanted to hire me, and it was like he wanted me in the.
That's right. Too late. We got her.
And I was already teaching at the time, so I had my job. But I would send a lot of my students to him. So, I mean, I probably had 30 or 40 students that ended up working at Fry's.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great place for a geek to work is a college kid. What a great gig.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the last box I'm going to show you is Linux Mandrake 7.0.
Wow.
Linux Mandrake is one of Michael's favorite distros.
Look at that.
Mine.
Yes.
That's my first.
Was that your first as well? Cool.
Yep.
Yes, Michael, this was his first, I believe.
Wow.
Awesome. So Mandrake Linux 7.0, this was based on Red Hat Linux, and it came out in the year 2000 and used the KDE 1.1 series desktop. The first versions of Mandrake were known as Linux Mandrake, and the name was later changed to Mandrake Linux from version 8.1 to 9.2. And speaking of Linux distributions, easy to install, Linux Mandrake had the most user-friendly installer created to date. It really revolutionized the installer with Linux. The hardware detection was phenomenal for the time and recognized my monitor configuration, detected my printer, and was the first Linux distro to, detect my sound card out of the box
that was
without
a big deal.
To compile.
Windows couldn't do that either.
Yeah,
I know. I made a lot of money configuring sound cards in Windows back in the day. That was something.
So originally Mandrake Linux was, like I said before, based on Red Hat Linux version 5.1, but later it stopped following Red Hat and became its own separate distribution and incorporated its own original tools to simplify system configuration. The creator of Mandrake, Gail Duvall, his core goal was to prioritize ease of use for new users. And this was extremely successful, as Mandrake Linux was praised as a Linux distribution that users could use all the time, removing the need to dual boot into Microsoft Windows for compatibility. Woohoo!
Yeah.
So what was really amazing about Mandrake is that CNET, everyone remembers CNET, it's still around and very strong on YouTube and their websites. CNET, a tech company, praised the Mandrake Linux 8.0 user experience, and they called it the most polished that was available at the time. And that was high praise to these.
And the penguin comes with a blue hat instead of a red hat.
Yes.
So
yes.
Very interesting.
In 2004, Mandrake Soft, the company behind Mandrake, merged with the Brazilian company Connectiva, and they renamed the distribution to Mandrava Linux. Mandrava has been forked many times, and distros such as PC Linux OS and Mageia continue its ease of use and user-friendly legacy. And so this box of Linux Mandrake was originally purchased at Crown Books. I used to love it when you could go to the Borders and Crown Books. And this one was $19.99. I remember at Crown Books. And this is it's a very important Linux distro because, again, it made the user friendliness and ease of installing Linux just it skyrocketed it. It put it in another stratosphere. All of a sudden, it was as easy to install as Windows. And also, make sure to check out Destination Linux episode number 351, where we interview Till Competer and Michael Sweet of Open Printing and talk about Till's awesome work on Linux Mandrake.
There you go.
Very cool.
It's a beautiful box as well, in beautiful blue. So that's awesome.
And then
I love it.
Here's its manuals.
They had really nice manuals too.
Yeah. And it has 6 discs.
Whoa. Now, Jill, for our audience, can you explain what a disc is?
I'm kidding. Already.
You don't have to. Well, she did a CD, but not a disc.
Yeah. Well, a disc is
a CD-ROM disc. I got you.
A CD-ROM disc.
I thought you meant floppy
disc. With a C,
as
not
opposed,
with a K.
Yeah, not with a K. The floppy disk has a K, and the CD disc has a C.
Jill's doing hooked on phonics for me right
C
here.
is for cookie.
Yeah.
C is
C is for CD-ROM.
And it's amazingly packaged. It's they got better with their packaging, so they saved the planet. So they got more discs and in one jewel case.
And that way, when you lose one, you lose them all at the same time instead of going, oh crap, I need disc 3. Where did it?
Exactly. There you go. And
so
that was
for those just listening,
so awesome.
though, Jill was holding up the CDs there. And if you don't know what a CD looks like, just think about coasters. They look like coasters. They're really thin. And that's what they were. Shiny coasters. Yeah.
Things we get to get in the mail all the time for AOL. Yeah.
Yes.
Just as an aside.
For free. And then the floppy disks before that. I have tons of AOL floppy disks. In fact, my first Linux distros are on AOL floppy disks.
That is hilarious.
Slackware. I have a Slackware.
That's awesome.
My 25 disks of Slackware are on AOL disks.
Well, at least you got good use out of them and you were able to rewrite them to something other than that. So
smart.
Oh, and speaking of which, Wendy, the AOL discs, I used to have my students use those in their art projects.
Yes,
for
absolutely.
Animation class.
I know. We did all kinds of crazy things to them as a kid.
I used to chuck them at my brother.
Yeah.
It's a good use. So, a fun little side about Mandrake Linux, the founder, Gail Duvall.
Cool. Yes.
He is also the founder and CEO of EOS and Marina.
Yes.
The pro-privacy de-Googled mobile ecosystem phones, or operating rather.
So,
and
he's still
EOS is my
favorite.
Of all the different operating systems out there. I love EOS. I think it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. So if you want to check out one of the alternative OSs to Android that I think is one of the most like having a professional experience right out of the box, I feel like EOS is it. Like it just, you don't feel like you're leaving anything behind. You don't feel like you're on some esoteric, weird version of phone software. It's just so well done and beautiful and flows together very, very well. So check out EOS. I did not know that, by the way, Nate. I mean, I knew it, but I didn't put it together, if that makes sense. Like, because I just wasn't around with Mandrake. So that's very cool.
Yeah, you remember we had one of the people from EOS on.
Yeah.
And we were in contact with Gail. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
We get EOS back on. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Nate, Jill, first of all, incredible Jill's Museum. You threw me for a loop because you went with software instead of hardware.
I know.
But it's still physical. And
yes.
It honestly gave me so many memories of software stores and EB games and just all these things that are gone now. So I don't know if I'm going to be depressed afterwards and need a drink or what. But I miss those times. I miss those times.
Too.
Yes.
Well, listen, we can go back in the past, and the past was the past, but the future is bright. There's so many exciting things happening with all of our interconnected devices. In fact, Nate, you're going to tell us about how exciting our refrigerators are about to be.
Ooh, actually, I'm going to tell you about how unexciting they are.
Oh, darn.
So I guess I'm the downer this time. Well, actually, we'll do a little positive end on it. So, and actually, this is an article you shared with me, Ryan, and I like to which I thought was really good. So Samsung, so they're maker of phones and electronics, TVs, and
everything,
refrigerators. And one of the things that a lot of people are like these refrigerators. Actually, I have a buddy who just built a new house a couple years ago. He got all Samsung everything, and one of them was one of these, I don't know, like $1,700, $1,800 refrigerators with like a big tablet, basically embedded inside one of the French doors of his refrigerator. And he brags about it. He shows the neat things it does and everything else. Well, this it's called the Family Hub, and this it's a touchscreen display. It has there's cameras inside there, and it can tell you about like when you put something in. There's a lot of really neat things. It has a little that AI smart technology that we all love. As part of a software update, advertisements will now start appearing on certain refrigerator cover screens. Isn't that exciting?
Oh my gosh! Finally,
you paid nearly $2,000 for the fancy top-line refrigerator, and an update.
Yes,
they get more advertising.
I was just thinking, I don't get enough ads. I feel like, Netflix added ads in when they were the thing that got you away from the TV ads. And then Amazon Prime was like, hey, we're going to add ads. And then everyone started, and I was just like, I wish everyone would add ads. When I go to my refrigerator, I want ads there too.
You run Linux, so you don't get them in your operating system like you do with Windows. So you got to get extra ads somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So in Linux you get the negative consequence of not accidentally hovering over your little weather icon and then getting all of this ads and news things for you to click on. So Samsung is trying to help people like you out that have removed some advertising. And so when the fridge is idle, like a screensaver, it'll start giving you advertisements that you can click on or tap on, whatever. So instead of the art mode, it'll show ads basically. And so this is just
basically in the middle of the night while it's idle, I can wake up to a Jock Itch cream ad
when you're going to get
off
your
of my
midnight
refrigerator.
snack. Yeah, so maybe you won't want that midnight snack. Maybe it's a positive. You won't want that snack anymore.
There you go. What are you trying to say? You trying to say, Wendy, that I don't need any more snacks?
But you got to help with those spaghetti arms, right? You need something other than a...
I'm going to get help.
So in the 1970s, it was already pretty bad. We got basically daily 500 ads. Just walking around, everything's an ad. Whether it's a sign on a building or whatever.
Yeah.
In 2023, it's more like 5,000 ads. So like, the cost of everything, ads goes up. I wonder if there's a correlation there. I don't know. Huh. But anyway, so Samsung has had this screens everywhere approach. They want to have like screens everywhere, which is the opposite of some people in my family, I find. And so Samsung users will now get to view an ad while grabbing some orange juice from the fridge, or milk so they can pour some cereal, and so they're trying to make I guess you more apt to buy something. I really don't know what they're. I mean, they're trying to make more money, basically. So if you remember, in 2015, the company came under fire for reportedly inserting ads every 20, 30 minutes for users' locally stored content on Samsung smart TVs, included from like third-party servers like Plex and Foxtel. They would insert ads in those. So, So they got a history of this, Samsung.
What I think is interesting is Samsung in Korea makes every product imaginable. Like everything you can think of, televisions, IoT devices, like we get some of it here. We don't get all of it here, but Samsung's obviously a very big electronic company here as well. They also, as I've mentioned on this show, if you're to read one privacy policy in your life, make it Samsung's. It is the worst privacy policy that I've ever read of any product that's ever existed. And I am the weirdo that reads privacy policies. And I could tell you without exception, Samsung's is the absolute worst. They basically say, we track you, we sell everything, we have no obligation to ever get rid of your data, and deal with it. And that's Samsung's privacy policy in a nutshell. So the fact
I'm going to push back.
Okay, push
just
back.
A little bit, because I ran the Samsung privacy policy through Bixby, their AI, and it said there's no problems.
Oh, well, darn. Well, I stand corrected then. Bixby, Samsung's AI, would never tell a lie.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, it says it's fine. So sorry, guys. I stand corrected on that. But
I wonder if Cortana would say the same thing. Cortana.
I think it's so unbelievable because it's not going to stop here. This is why people have to start voting with their wallets. It's not going to stop here. See, it'll play ads, but then it's going to start scanning your fridge for what you buy. And then it's going to start it'll probably have a situation where you can get a cheaper version of the fridge, but you have to watch the ad to open your fridge. Then there's going to be the one that has the camera and microphone enabled on it so that they can listen in and watch what you're doing in your home so they can get more information to sell ads. And then it's going to ask for, I guarantee you, when you set this up on your network, the first thing it's going to ask for is, can I search for other devices on your network? Because it's going to go pull information from that in your internet searches and everything else. So even if you don't have a Samsung phone, it's still going to be pulling all of your traffic and information and selling all of that data. For a refrigerator, like these things are already incredibly overpriced.
This is one of the reasons why people are running devices like Pi-holes or on their router setting up specific things with like a custom DNS or whatnot. So it blocks some of those items already because you're being so overwhelmed with ads as it is. It's not that most of us are opposed to ads. There's one that runs in the show. It's how the show stays running. It's how I get paid to edit, right? So they are important. They have their place. And like Ryan said before, like they bring you stuff that they have fully vetted. Is Samsung fully vetting everything that they're showing on their ads? Absolutely not. They're not doing that. And people hit a point where they're like, I'm done. I'm just done. And so they install ad blockers so that they don't have to see them everywhere, so that their kids aren't bombarded by ads. The thing is, we used to have, going back to the 90s, some really, really fun ads. We've actually had nights where we sit down as a family because Magneto and I are joking about some like ad from the 90s, and the kids are looking at us like, what in the world are you talking about? We're like, oh, it's ad night. Great Poupon.
Yes.
Great Poupon.
All those Super Bowl ads.
Right? Yeah. Yes, exactly. So there were some fun ones. I actually have like good childhood memories of some of the fun ads that were out there. And now, not only do I find them horrible, But as Nate brought up, like they're everywhere. You've reached
It's
overload,
exhausting.
and then you just shut them down.
I think the thing too is like years ago, I used to write radio advertising, for radio, obviously. So I'll like tell stories, and anyway, and I think advertising can be good if it's done well, but it's just when it's intrusive and almost like just terrible. You know, like I mean, if you watch, I don't know if you ever watched Tubi or whatever. The ads on there are just basically like the garbage ads you would see on like your phone or whatever. And I'm like I wish they would just do old McDonald's ads. You know, the 2 all beef patty, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, you know, the whole do that.
That stuck with you. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it did. And and I still love Big Macs. I don't have them very often, but I love Big Macs. So it's like a once a quarter treat. But anyway, I guess I got to count how many I have left in life. But the point is,
so dark. Oh my gosh. Samsung will let you know. They have all your data anyways.
That's right. They know. Yeah. So the point is, I think advertising is egregious now. And I think you almost have to push back on it. And I don't feel bad about ad blockers because of just how bad advertisers are. And I think, you know, one of the sad thing about Samsung is they have such a neat product, but yet they're almost pulled a bat on that one. They're good, but then they just kind of kick dirt on it with their bad policies. And you know, it kind of makes me think, you know, like, okay, so LG is another, you know, manufacturer of appliances that are, you know, good with electronics. You know, they make a lot of neat electronics too. LG does.
Used to make some pretty awesome phones too.
They did, yep. And the thing is, like, you know, I worked for an appliance company years ago, and that's, you know, Samsung's already doing their screens and everything else there, and I thought they were neat. But also I'm like, you know, how long can, you know, this last in the refrigerator before they brick the device? And a lot of things too is like, you know, there's a lot of electronics, they'll brick them after a period of time, or they become basically a security risk. And so the company I worked for, they were not into making small electronic gadgets like Samsung or LG. Who they are is not important. But the thing is, like, so they didn't have any gimmicks that they could work with. And so but they would do, you know, good mechanical design, good you know, fit and finish and function. A lot like the foundation's really good, but just didn't have like the flash and the flare. And so I started pushing. Now, mind you, it never happened, so it went nowhere. But just like here, how cool would it be if a major appliance manufacturer would open source like their UIs and whatnot, their HMIs for people, so hackers and whatever, that they could go in there and write their own applications and do fun things with it, kind of geekify it, you know, just like Framework, like the Steam Deck, you know, it has a community following because of the openness and the hackability of it, you know. And I think that could be an angle that an appliance manufacturer could do instead of going this awful whatever advertising way. There are other ways you can make your products appealing, and I think, I don't know how big that the hacker community is, or the, you know, whatever. I don't mean hacker in the negative sense, but the hackers, like, I like to play with my technology and have fun with it. I don't know how big that community really is, but could you imagine having like an open source
Raspberry Pi powered screen
Raspberry Pi
on your
based something?
BeagleBone,
there we go. That's super cool, because I think about Home Assistant, right, and the stuff that you do with that, and the stuff that Bill has done with Home Assistant, and the stuff that they're putting in businesses and schools related to Home Assistant. And that is one place where I'm like, Internet of Things could be really cool if I'm able to run that on my local server at home.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is just how ripped off we are as consumers, and we've become numb to it, that you're going to spend $3,000 on a refrigerator and it's going to come with ads, and you're going to suck it up and deal with it because everybody's going to copy what Samsung's doing, because there's only like 3 or 4 major appliance companies in the world left. And that are in the big stores. You're going to suck it up and deal with it. They're all going to do it, and what they're going to sell their stockholders is that we found yet another revenue stream on top of the $3,000, and on top of the filters that you need for your refrigerator, and on top of the fact that we make it so that it doesn't last, like, you know, old refrigerators would last 20, 30 years. Now these will be dead.
More than that, my in-laws have a fridge that is still running that is older than my husband.
There you go. I think Jill has some very old appliances too.
Well, we have an icebox from the 40s that was in our house in Mexico that's still running.
You said icebox.
Yeah, icebox. And my refrigerator here in my house is from the 70s from Montgomery Ward's, and it's still running.
Still running, amazing. Which it makes me think my daughter is in an auto body program here locally, and we were headed to town for something, and this semi passes us with cars on the back, and she's like, all of those, even though you don't see any damage, are totaled cars. This is one of the things that she'd recently learned in class. And it's one of those situations because there is so many electronics built into them. If anything gets messed up, then there's so much wiring, so many electronics in them that it's not worth it for the insurance company to have it fixed. It's not worth the liability for the shop to have it fixed. And so all of these like cars that look almost new are being labeled as totaled. Now you add that to your fridge, your dishwasher, your washing machine, like all of these daily appliances that you need. And every household can't go, well, it's a yearly update. Let's get a new one because now this software is old. It's bricked. My fridge isn't getting updates. Like, how ridiculous is that to even say?
Yeah.
And then it only lasts 5 years and you have to put it in the landfill anyway.
Right.
And it's going to get bricked.
It's so annoying.
Nate said, how many devices get updated and get bricked? I've had it happen to multiple electronics. So they'll actually release something. And then if you're out of warranty, they're not going to help you. So they're like, we sent a patch to your refrigerator. It bricks the older one, even though maybe you got past 5 years with your $3,000 refrigerator and then it bricks it. It's just, we've got to get out of this cycle. Like what has happened with the consumers is not okay. And people just have to start voting with their wallets. And I think learning how to repair and go out there and fix these old things to keep them running longer is going to be the only ways to kind of get around it, because the companies have basically merged to the point there's so few options and they all follow each other's own steps that you would be thinking like, well, surely, like Nate's saying, another refrigerator company out there is going to go, well, we're not going to display ads. But that's not what actually happens. They go, Samsung, the stockholders of Samsung go, hey, we just made $20 more million. Then they go over to, I don't know, Whirlpool, Maytag, whoever's left and go, the stockholders over there go, we want that same kind of revenue that Samsung made. So we want you to start running ads too. And they go, okay. And then everyone just falls in line with the 3 or 4 companies that are left producing this stuff. And we're left holding the bag. And this is a privacy violation on so many levels. And it's, in these devices will not be repairable. They're going to make them less and less repairable as they add more and more electronics to it. This is a big deal, even though it looks like it's just Samsung right now. I promise you, this is the future of all of your electronics. Your washer machine, your dryer is going to be playing you ads, your toaster. I had a microwave break in my entire life, which is, I've been around on this planet a long time. I never remember one time a microwave breaking. This is proven technology that's always just worked. We buy this brand new house. It comes with this very fancy Frigidaire microwave. And it's built into the cabinetry, which is the first mistake. I thought that was cool looking. I didn't realize how crappy that is because you got to buy like $1,000 border and stuff to go around this crap.
The hood and all
that.
But
anyways,
the microwave breaks. So I'm like, well, surely this is less than a year old. Frigidaire is going to replace this thing. So we call up and they're like, well, if you want us to send a service tech out, it'll be $100. But we're under warranty. Well, the warranty is only 3 or 4 months. I don't remember. It was some insanely low amount of warranty. And so we're like, all right, fine. When we looked up these microwaves, they're like $600. Now, I remember spending $60 at Walmart for a microwave. But now my microwave's $600 because it's got this fancy stainless steel stupid border around it that I just want a microwave sitting on my countertop now that I know this crap, but I didn't know this when I got the house. So then I call and they send the tech out. The tech walks in and he goes, oh, I don't have parts for that model anymore. So he takes my $100 now. They took my $100 to get the tech out, knowing they didn't make parts for this thing anymore. So they weren't even going to be fix it. And he walks back out. So I'm like, no way. I call Frigidaire. I'm like, you got to give me my money back. The guy walks in. He didn't even look at the microwave. When he looked at the model on the order, said he doesn't have parts to fix anything anyways. They're like, no, we're not giving you your money back. I escalated all the way up the company's chain. They refused to give the money back. Do you think I'll ever own a Frigidaire again? No. But the point is, they're probably all like this. They don't care anymore. They don't care if they lose your business. And me not buying that's not going to hurt them because there's only 4 companies you can buy a microwave from left. And so they know that, eventually you'll probably come around. So
why do you think I only have older vehicles? And it's because of this exact same reason, like the exact same reason.
Yeah. So it's really funny. I had a Frigidaire microwave and is mounted above the stove, and it didn't have any fancy trimming on it. My house is a little bit more, blue collar. So anyway, so I'm the microwave actually breaks because one of my kids, I'm not gonna say which one it is because I don't, they microwave something with a spoon or fork in there, and so it blew the fuse in it. And so I'm like, well, it went out, and the child said, "Hey, the microwave stopped working." And I open up and go, Anyway, so I take it apart and I put a new fuse in it because I worked on appliances for quite a while, and so it worked. And then it kept blowing fuses. So obviously something happened to the magnetron. There's some component in there was a bit off. So if you actually were to open up the microwave in the middle of the cycle, it would blow the fuse. If you just canceled it, it wouldn't blow the fuse. So there's some sort of probably bleed off diode or something somewhere that failed. Well, in my grand idea, I ran out of fuse. I had a big pack of fuses, and I ran out of fuses after about 1.5 years of doing this. Repairing the microwave every month or so, and I just said, well, I'm just going to bypass it. So I bypassed the fuse entirely, and
that's pretty dangerous.
I started it, and then I don't recall what it was. It was this year. It was springtime. It looked like a bolt of lightning came out and went into the in the inside of the microwave, and started billowing an amazing amount of smoke. And so well, time for a new microwave.
Yeah. Don't worry, Nate. My kids have killed a dishwasher with modeling clay. So, I can't say much.
Well, the thing is, the best thing you can expect from a Frigidaire is a smoke show. That's about the best you're going to get out of that crappy
that's
brand.
That's what Ryan has learned from this.
Appliances. So at least you got a smoke show out of that junk brand Frigidaire. By the way, Frigidaire, no amount of money would make me ever advertise your stupid brand. Your customer service sucks. I hate your appliances. I hope you go out of business.
Go suck eggs.
So,
yes.
So here's the thing, though. Imagine, just dream with me here for just a moment. What if a company, maybe not Framework, but a company like Framework made appliances? Just think about that for just a moment.
Just
think about that.
Yeah.
You might spend 10, 20% more on the appliance, but you'd have an appliance, but they have common interfaces for the machine compartment on the refrigerator or whatever, common interfaces, whatever. So you can actually replace the parts. And if they upgrade the parts, they have an upgrade path that they've calculated into the design. It could be done. It would have
anything
to be
Framework makes, I'm buying. Frameworks is the exact opposite of everything going on right now in the tech industry. They're making everything repairable and upgradable. So not just repairable, so you can repair it yourself. That's cool. But they're also making it so that older generations, you pull the whole main board out and put a new one in, and you've got a brand new machine. It's just unbelievable.
And I'm just thinking about this. I'm not trying to advertise for Framework, but just as an aside, the company I work for right now, we are pretty much only buying frameworks. We have almost 40 frameworks now between the 3 plants. And
nice.
Because of Nate.
Yes.
Because of me. And they're such a good company to work with. So here's the thing too. So let's say I got a framework right here that I'm talking to you from without it through. I don't know. Anyway, but they have, the webcam that it came with, the Generation 1 webcam was okay, but now they have a Generation 2 webcam. So think about it from an appliance perspective. They got generation 1 handles, but now generation 2 handles a little bit fancier. So if you want to upgrade your handles on your refrigerator or whatever, it could be more, the business model could be more like customizing your appliances, customizing whatever through an upgrade path, not just turning the screws in on you. But there's so many things that they could do. I actually had, I never actually got them through manufacturing, but when I did work for this appliance manufacturer, I designed different kinds of drawers and shelvings that they could sell aftermarket. So like, let's say you want a specialty kind of shelving for let's say you were into marinating meats and everything else. So I designed something for that and other stuff too. But anyway, the point is, there are different ways to monetize and make money from your consumers if they're excited about your product. You don't have to try and squeeze every bit of.
You don't have to sell ads, and you don't have to make it so they constantly break. You can have other avenues of that, because the fridge that we have right now, the shelves in it broke, and I went to replace them, and they were over $100 a piece for this crappy little chunk of plastic. So my daughter catted them, and those are the ones that are currently being used in the fridge, or ones that were printed off our 3D printer at home.
Smarter. 3D printing. I mean, these companies make you hate them to the point where when there is an alternative, no one will feel sad when they go away.
Yep.
And when you look at your refrigerator thing, there is nothing that's keeping them from making that modular, Nate. What a genius idea, even from a shareholder standpoint, that people could upgrade the cooling system, the efficiency system, even the freezer itself may be able to pull out and you put a different one in, versus having everything be, you have to throw away the entire thing every time you want something new or something breaks. And so I think that's the future. At least that's the future we had hoped for in the 90s. It hasn't come true yet. But here's hoping it comes back along with box software. But we are way over on time, and poor Wendy has to edit this. And so everyone needs to give a huge thank you to Wendy in the chat, because she's agreeing. When we knew we had 4 people, we knew we were going to go over, but she did it anyways. And I'm so thankful for you for doing that,
fair,
Wendy.
The conversations that have happened on this show have just been so organic, and there's been so much to say that it was going to be a long show anyway. So we had another segment for you. I did have a segment, but we're going to skip it.
It's a good one too
this week.
It's a really good one.
Good one. Yeah. But we
could use this one for Linux Out Loud, Wendy.
No,
yes,
you can't steal our content. We have it copyrighted. We're suing you.
No.
Yeah, that's what we do. We're a big corporation over here.
Except for Linux Out Loud has no advertising or anything like that. So what are you going to get out of us?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to get Nate's refrigerator. Microwave.
That's a win.
Big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening to Destination Linux. However you do it, we love your faces. Go join us on our Discord by going to tuxdigital.com/Discord. By the way, Nate and Wendy are on there too. So if you've enjoyed the heck out of this show, check out Linux Out Loud and go to our Discord so you can hang out with them there. What else can they do, Wendy? What else can they do? Can they become members?
What else can they do? Well, yes, they can become members of this, and you get so much more when you become a patron of the Destination Linux Network, or the Tux Digital Network, I should say, because there is going to be a lot of extra stuff that is cut out of this show in particular, just because we had side conversations that won't make it into the show. So if you want to see all of those, all of that fun stuff, you definitely need to become a member. And if you want to support the show some more, you can go to the store. Plus, members, the patrons, get additional discounts for that store. There's so many cool things on the merch store. As usual.
Box software?
No box software, but as usual, Jill is wearing one of the shirts. There's some other amazing hats, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff. I've got a shirt on there. So if you want a Sinister Wendy shirt, which I've been so nice on this episode, then you should go there and check that out.
We're all a little Sinister Wendy inside.
All a little Sinister
we all have
Wendy.
a little Sinister Wendy. a little devil Wendy on our shoulder. That doesn't do it.
Wendy on one shoulder and Jill on the other.
Angel and a devil.
Jill and Wendy. Oh my gosh. That's a perfect new shirt, Nate. We got you got a person with a Wendy and a Jill on their shoulder. You know, you got the angel and the devil. Which one you want to? That's amazing. That's so good.
And make sure to check out all the amazing shows here on Tux Digital, including Linux Out Loud. That's right. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness. Also, Linux Saloon with our host here, Cubicle Nate.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. A whole community. You can come together. You can talk about all the questions of the week that they have. They test out distros, do all kinds of cool stuff, but everyone's invited. If you want to know what is it like to be on a show and have your voice heard, you can go join that one every week.
Yeah, it's a great Linux user group.
The less I talk, the better the show. That's what it boils down to.
I'm sure Matt would probably agree to that. That would be like Matt's line if he was here. So
we channeled our inner Matt.
So head to tuxdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching and watch all our cool shows.
Everybody, have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination. And since for the kids here, you had to listen to a lot of how things used to be, I'm going to use one of the kids' favorite memes right now. 6-7, 6-7. So if you don't get that, you don't have kids in the car. But if you do have kids in the car, they're going to know exactly what that means. And they're shouting 6-7 right now. And you're welcome, parents. There you go.
My kids don't know what that means. So does that mean parenting?
I don't know what it means.
Go look it up afterwards. It's a big deal. The 6-7. It's a big deal. It's a big deal.
I'll take your word for it.
It's not a counting thing. It's not related to a basketball player or a show.
Yeah,
I think it's both.
It has to do with the height. He's 6'7".
Yeah, and then there's a song where they go 6-7, 6-7. So now all the kids in class like to go around yelling 6-7, and so that's the meme there. But I'm just down with the kids, Wendy. Okay. Don't judge. The kids love me. I'm so popular with pop culture and such.
You're the hip dad.
I'm so hip. It's ridiculous. Redonkulous even.
When we stop recording, you want to bring your kids in so we can ask them?
No, you cannot ask them. They think Dad's lame.
Hey, you want to maybe invite your wife in and we can ask her?
She definitely thinks I'm lame. 20 years of lame she's had to put up with. 20 years of lame. All right, y'all. See you not next week, but the week after probably-ish.
See you sometime in the future.
We'll see you in the future. Hopefully it's better in this current time line.